Today is Friday, Parashat Toledot. In learning the Chok Israel of today, the Musar portion explains that Shabbat has a very special spiritual light that shines in it. But in order to be able to connect with that special sense of spirituality of Shabbat, a person has to make sure that during the 6 days of the week, of the work week, that he keeps a certain level of purity of thoughts, a certain level of purity of actions, so that he will be able to connect when Shabbat arrives with that special spiritual light of Shabbat. And the Musar brings examples. He says, like, imagine yourself, somebody was in a very, very dark room, and he opens the door to very bright daylight. He wouldn't be able to even open his eyes. He couldn't take that big light going from total darkness to total bright light. The way to do it is if inside the room he was in a place where there was a certain amount of light, then when he goes to the brighter light outside, he's able to see clearly and enjoy that bright light outdoors because he was not in total darkness. So during the week also, a person cannot be just involved in whatever, whichever, and we're not paying attention to what his actions are, what are his thoughts about, because then when Shabbat comes, he may not be able to connect with all that Shabbat has to offer. And he gives another example. He's saying like if you were to take a cloth that is stained, that has spots and stains on it, it will be very difficult to dye it into a color because you'll have to be clean first. So also when a person comes into Shabbat after the week, he has to have a certain level of purity and cleanliness, not to be steeped in sins and wrong actions, because then he will not be able to connect as properly with Shabbat as if he was a certain level of purity. And the Musar suggests that the purity of thoughts is very important also. So how do you make sure that you have purity of thoughts? First of all, not to expose yourself to things that you shouldn't be exposed to, but also to be involved in learning Torah and daily, every day of the week, to make sure that you have a certain amount of time dedicated to Torah learning. Also, kavanah in the tefillah, when you pray, and you pray with a certain amount of concentration, understanding the words that you say and connecting with Hashem through prayer. And those, both prayer and Torah learning will keep the thoughts pure to the extent that when you come to Shabbat, it will be easier to benefit and to connect with all that Shabbat has to offer in terms of its spirituality. So even the whole week should be dedicated to keeping that certain level of spirituality that will make it easier for you to connect with Shabbat. And these are the words from the Musar of today in Chok Israel for Friday, Parashat Toledot. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen, and Shabbat Shalom.